Hi everybody, I have friends again.
Yay!
This is E.T. You may remember him from the hit 1980s classic.
This is Taylor. She's an actual Disney princess and like such a good friend. Thank you for being here.
I love being here.
And then you've seen me before. My name's Kathy.
We are still at BookNet Fest. Last night we watched a Netflix movie called Sierra Burgess is a Loser. I almost said Sierra Burgess is a liar, and that almost
Well, that one also works.
Also
That
true.
works too. Yeah.
I'm not going to apologize for suggesting it because I genuinely thought it was going to be good. Sierra Burgess is a Loser is a movie starring Shannon Purser, who I really like.
we love.
She's not the writer or the director or a producer. She just was an actress in the movie.
And she deserves better.
Just like Barb.
Exactly.
That's her legacy.
It really is at this point, and I'm so sad about it.
It's sort of played off like a rom-com, like a teen rom-com, but it's not funny.
There was like that.
There was one funny line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are the
Yeah.
Sour Patch Parents?
Yes.
R.J. Kryler also did what he could with that role,
Yes.
although his lines more than anybody else were gross.
The rest of the characters that were saying offensive things, they were trying to play it off like, oh, well, they're the mean ones, so you're not supposed to like what they're saying because they're the bad people, and this is just showing that they're bad people. But he made a transphobic joke as well, and he was supposed to be the best friend.
And played off Sierra as being deaf for a joke.
No, don't forget, she played herself off as deaf first
Yeah.
to get out of something, and
Yeah,
then got
so fair.
outed that way. But then he hit her with the, oh, she's a hermaphrodite because she can't hear what
Yeah.
I'm saying. But
That's like,
Yeah.
we don't go there.
That was
Yeah.
disgusting. Essentially, this tale is supposed to be like an updated, gender-swapped version of Cyrano. I think it's called Cyrano de Bergerac. Ugly
feels-
guy uses hot guy to get to girl by telling him what to say to her.
And it ends
basically.
up feeling a lot more like Pretty in Pink than anything else.
She looks a lot like Molly
She looks like
Ringwald.
Molly Ringwald. I read an article,
yeah.
they like based her color palette off of Molly Ringwald's character in that movie. Like, the references were intentional.
Yeah, R.J.
Yeah, which
Kryler is essentially Black Ducky.
I liked that they never ventured into the territory that Ducky does, where like this character is secretly in love with her, or is jealous of like the
Yeah,
new guy or
thank
whatever. Like, I like
goodness.
that they kept their friendship platonic because
Yeah.
we need to see more of that.
Sierra is a loser because apparently we still use those terms in public high school.
I mean, you do.
I guess. And then the mean girl, because that's a real person. Like, what is happening in this movie?
She
I
liked
don't
this
know.
guy who's in college. He's a
Yeah.
college freshman, and she wants to get with him, but he dumps her once.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're so stupid. And she's like, oh no, he called me dumb. That's the thing I'm sensitive about. And then she comes and is like, oh, let me just help you not be dumb. And then she's like, ooh, I'm going to talk about Socrates while we're making out. And then she gets dumped the second time.
The other huge thing that we did not like at all about this movie is that it's so queerbaity that it almost makes Cursed Child look like it's not queerbaity at all.
We were talking about how you would workshop this into making it better, and the best way to make it better would be to remove the boys from the equation in the first place because they weren't necessary.
No, you keep them in there to drive them together. And then it's like, forget the boys.
You don't need
You don't even
though.
need them to drive them together because if the issue is just about school things, that Sierra wants to tutor people so she has money for a car, and Veronica needs to be tutored because she's failing her classes, and that's what brings them together. Like, that's a story I would
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah.
That's a story I would watch. And
That would be
allowed
a
to
perfectly
respect.
fine hate to love trope, which I enjoy. There were so many like long lingering looks and like
Oh, that's shot at the end.
Yeah.
That's
Thirst.
shot at the end.
The absolute amount of thirst in this made me dehydrated.
Yeah.
I'm still dehydrated. My lips are
There's
cracked
a
right now.
whole montage of them like studying together, but
Yeah.
like Veronica takes Sierra's glasses off and puts it on her face, which is really weird. You don't do that to people that need glasses.
Kiss,
The whole
yes.
time.
Watching
We're
this
sitting
movie.
there chanting for them
Yeah.
to kiss. They just don't. I don't mind if you work up to a platonic relationship between two girls in high school. We need more movies like that, absolutely.
Yes.
Don't queerbait it.
No.
that whole ending sequence where it's like one of them longingly looking at the other and then a shot of the other longingly looking at the first one. They run to each other and it looks like they're going to kiss and then
Yeah.
they hug instead. And
Yeah.
You're like, what the
We're supposed to all be like big fans of like Noah Centineo, and like I think he's great, but his character didn't do a whole lot in this movie. But everyone's like giving like him like a bunch of credit, and I was like, this movie was not about him.
Yeah.
This movie was about these two girls, and he was an accessory. It could have been entirely rewritten with him not even being in it. And
He's not a complex character.
He's not a
He's
complex
not
character.
interesting.
He's so two-dimensional.
Oh, yeah.
This tried to throw in little bits of diversity. Like they were probably like, well, we need a black person. Who
Yeah,
can we
they
make
definitely-
black?
they had
Ducky will be black. And then they were also like, well, you know, disability is a thing, so we're definitely going to throw in that just at random, but the way that they did it, like, I would have been fine with his little brother being deaf and that just being a thing that existed because it did, but then throwing in how Sarah, like, it was accidentally pretending to be deaf.
This is the most secondhand discomfort I've ever experienced in my entire life watching this scene. And you know what's odd? Somebody had retweeted something that the creator, the writer, Lauren Beer did, and she had like posted this tweet about this movie is so great because we've got all this representation, and we've got representation of disabilities, and we've got representation of fat characters, and
representation doesn't count if it doesn't actually do anything.
Exactly. Exactly.
To a certain point, because like you can have like a diverse cast if it's not offensive. Like Chrissy Metz being the fat mom and making fat phobic jokes, that's not satire and it's not funny. It's still fat phobic.
And I think patting yourself on the back for including an assortment of people, like, that doesn't make you a good person.
Yeah, just including an assortment of people that you're shitting on.
So like RJ Kryler is in the new Power Rangers, and that is diversity without making a big deal about diversity.
Okay, let's talk about inaccurate depiction of character tropes in this movie.
They try to like make Shannon Purser hate herself at the end of the movie, but it doesn't exist in the beginning. She's Shannon Purser. She's not ugly by any standard. And you know what, even if she was, like, who cares?
Yeah, and it's weird because at the beginning she seems like she's very confident with herself. That's the opening scene.
She seems super well adjusted and her parents are super supportive. So like,
and even when she gets bullied directly in the bathroom, it's not like she just leaves and cries. She turns around and she digs
way more of a Tyrion. You're not even insulting me the right way. This doesn't bother me. As soon as she has feelings, she's no longer confident in herself. Like, that is lazy writing.
It's an odd choice. The mean girl trope is one that's been abused in films for like as long as we can remember. Like, it's like writers don't know what girls are actually like in high school. When she was like, I have 20,000 followers. Do you know how many people I follow? 0.
How does she get those, first of all? Like, she does nothing to get 20,000 followers. People don't just follow attractive people who do nothing.
Like, you have to supply content and you have to engage your audience. That was super weird.
Something that they showed just really quickly at the football game, some of the parents were following her, which I thought was very, very odd. Because you could clearly see like adult hands going into person's going.
I know what's happening, but maybe I just haven't experienced this. I feel like when I was in high school, girls were not that aggressively in your face with comments like that. She wasn't just mean to her, she was like mean to everybody. Like, they showed her making fun of everybody.
I'm really, really tired of the mean girl is mean because of a bad home life.
The guidance counselor literally pulls her into her office and is like, you have great SAT scores, but that's not enough. And she's like, I got almost perfect. And she's like, that doesn't matter. First of all, like, what a weird, aggressive way to talk to one of your students. Like, be supportive. And then the second time, I screamed. I literally was sitting over there and I screamed because the second time she goes into her office, she's like, do you know any other languages? And Sierra's like, I know French, Spanish, and a little bit of Mandarin. And she was like, everybody speaks Mandarin. Try harder, Sierra. And it's like, you asked her.
I thought like the abusive administrator bullshit stopped with like Ferris Bueller. Like,
I know, right?
Don't need
Apparently it didn't, because if you notice, every single teacher just happened to be tenured and didn't care what happened in their classes. Because like, she's like this on her phone, just
there are people like straight up talking in the middle of like band practice where they're like playing a song and she's 3 feet from the conductor and apparently they can just have this conversation. Can we just talk about the cell phones? Because we spend a lot of time like looking at their phones as they're either waiting for text messages or reading text messages. And like the camera is not close enough to actually read what is going on.
This is why the like series and the movies that have the text on screen, like as part of the frame, that's so important.
They do it for a reason. Some people are like, that's so cheesy. I'm like, that's so you can actually see what's happening.
Let's talk about consent.
Oh yeah. So there's a great scene. That was sarcasm, but in case it didn't come across, that was a great scene where the mean girl has basically decided that she's going to help Sarah like keep talking to this boy who thinks that he's been talking to Veronica the whole time, but has been actually talking to Sarah. So they go out on a date and Sarah like tags along and is like hanging out behind and just like knows things. So like they're sitting in the middle of the parking lot and everything about that scene made no sense, but they're sitting in the parking lot. And basically,
empty parking lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And
she somehow sneaks up and like hides under his car, and I'm like, friend.
And then her yellow sweatshirt just.
Let me tell you, as a fat girl, no ninjas.
He wants to go in for a kiss, and Veronica like makes him close his eyes, and then like switches out with Sierra, and it's just. That's not what consent is. No.
Later on in the movie, he does eventually kiss Veronica, and somehow he's like, "Wow, this is totally the same person."
Yeah,
It's like, no.
So like this is this whole issue of consent, especially, would be completely taken care of if like there weren't any boys in this movie, like romantic boys.
Because that whole scene would be gone.
Yeah,
everything would be
that
better.
would be Veronica and Sierra on a date at the movies, and then like
and then just fall into their feelings.
Awkwardly, like cute awkwardly being like, do we kiss? Do we not kiss?
I think it would have been like crazy, like passionate. They would have kissed and been like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
Then hung out later and then really kissed, and you would have been like,
oh, I like that.
You know, my favorite kiss trope is when they like quick kiss and then they're like, wow, that's great, and then they're like, yes, cool.
Yeah. I lied because I thought that her pretending to be deaf was the cringiest moment, and I think this one might have been the cringiest moment.
Yeah.
People will make the argument, oh, well, he really was in love with Sierra the whole time because that's the one who he was texting, but there's a huge difference.
Know,
yeah,
though.
just because he
That's
didn't
the
know.
problem.
As far as he knew in his brain, like the person that he was dating and the person he was talking to was Veronica, and so for them to switch it out with somebody else, even though that was the person whose words he was actually using, that is not the same. That is not, like, emotional interaction is by no means the same as physical interaction when you are in a romantic involvement with somebody, and that completely abused that, and I'm really angry and have a lot of thoughts.
Another thing I'd like to touch on is the college boy praying. Not like interacting, but preying on a high school girl, because people are aware enough now. They're like, if you see like a college dude at a high school party, he gets called out immediately, and it's immediately like, okay, why are you
also,
here?
like,
You need to leave. Like,
there are college parties. High schoolers, from what I've heard from YA authors who like interact with teenagers in order to write YA books, high schoolers don't party like this anymore. Like they have like a get together. Like parents don't go away on trips by themselves anymore because of the economy essentially. So like teenagers don't have houses to themselves to throw house parties.
Wow. There's a scene at the party where Sierra eavesdrops on, what is it called?
Spencer, I think his name is.
Spence. Oh, it's Spence. I hate that. She overhears him telling his friend that he only called Veronica stupid so that she would feel insecure and then he could sleep with her. And it's not shown on screen, but it's implied that that happens, and then he dumps her the next morning, which is horrible. And Sierra hears this, and at no point, I know she like blacks out immediately. After she like comes to, at no point does she text Veronica and say like, are you okay? I overheard this, you need to get away from him, he's a bad person. When she sees her again the next day, and Veronica's like, he dumped me, she doesn't respond in a way that would indicate that she feels bad about knowing what was going to happen and not being able to tell her. This plot line just kind of just gets thrown out, and it was such a huge deal, and that made me really upset.
Which makes no sense, because like I get it, she was drunk and she might not remember everything, but that was something super important that she wanted to remember, but the only thing she remembered was drunk dialing what's his name and then going, I really, really like you, and then falling asleep. She remembers all of that, and then she pretends like she doesn't, but she doesn't want to be like, hey, Veronica. Real quick, she does switch and call her Ronnie, which is super adorable, but they don't touch on that, which aggravates me.
We're gonna get into the thing with the picture because on her Instagram, because I'm really angry about that as well.
The first thing that should have been a red flag to anyone, if you're in a situation that's just super emotional and sexually charged, and you see somebody taking a picture or a video and you're not about it, get out of there. But not only did that happen, he sent her that same picture and was like, we're done. Which doesn't make sense to me, because if you just
send her the picture.
Exactly, because if you want to be over with somebody, you either
maybe it's his version of like trophies.
They like try to build him up as this like super abusive guy, and clearly he is, but he's got one scene in the entire movie.
I know.
Yeah.
Second thing, it's like what, the 21st century? I'm gonna assume it's not, like when computers are just starting. Why would her password be Spence with like a lowercase?
Spence is like 5 letters long. You need like 4.
You need some numbers.
Really bad
You need
there's so many
symbols,
things. It's gotta be case sensitive.
Uppercase.
She hacked into her friend's Instagram account and then
they're
posted
not friends.
that thing.
At that point, they're not friends.
friends.
Sierra has burned that bridge.
Yeah.
Very true. But that's genuine cyberbullying. And also, somehow, a 50-year-old volunteer with a Surface Pro just has access to the Jumbotron. He doesn't realize he does, and then this random kid hacks into this guy's Surface Pro and then puts it up on the Jumbotron. There are just so many things that just didn't make sense.
Random kid. bad writing.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention, it's not only is it cyberbullying, it's also child pornography, technically.
That entire situation in itself just serves to make Sierra completely unlikable, which isn't something you should do at the end of your movie.
It's really, really, really essentially just bad writing.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, I don't want any of these people to be happy. I just want to set them all on fire and leave.
Exactly.
And the writer like defending these choices by saying it was heavily based on my own experiences. Like your experiences are not universal.
No.
She did the whole invincible main character thing where it's just no matter what this main character does, at some point in time, everyone's just gonna forgive them. Her parents grounded her. A couple days later, oh, how come you're not going out? I mean, my parents did that, but that's completely different because I wasn't invincible. I hacked your social media and did this, but guess what? We're still friends. We're gonna hug at homecoming. And then she burns her bridge with her only genuine friend, and he's like, oh hey, you were kind of dumb. Say, I was kind of dumb. All right, now we're cool. I hate invincible main characters. It doesn't make sense. Like, you did something wrong. You need to be called out on it. You burned bridges. They're gone.
Especially because what Sierra did in retaliation to Veronica was so much worse than what Veronica even did. Because first of all, Veronica didn't do anything wrong. She was doing exactly what Sierra told her to do, which is pretend to be her. Jamie kissed her, and then Sierra wasn't around for them to do a switch off again or whatever. Not that would work in this situation. So she had no choice. And Sierra's retaliation was
so over the top.
And it's like it's based on the assumption that Sierra has that Veronica might be liking Jamie. Now that Veronica is like a loser. Like there's a big weight on the idea of being a loser, which like
that's not a thing anymore.
She thinks that Veronica like hasn't had any character growth and is still a selfish little brat and just goes for what she wants. And it's like there's been no indication that Veronica would do that to her.
Can we also talk about how much bullshit the end sequence was? Because I know you hated it.
Oh my god! So in films that are based on true events, such as moments in history, biopics, like anything based on true events, something that they do commonly is to have pictures of the real person who inspired the event, not the actor, the real person, with text explaining what happened later in life after the events of the movie. They freaking did that for this movie like it was a biopic and it was a fictional movie. And so instead of giving us like any kind of solid epilogue about what happened to these characters, they just had like running text across the screen that was like
the whole thing with
and then they went to college.
Daniel talking his way into an all-girls school. That's not a thing that happens.
Yeah, no.
And it just comes off very creepy and racist.
Super creepy. Did not enjoy it. Also, like, that didn't add anything for me. Like, I thought the movie was ending, and then suddenly, and suddenly there was more, and I was like, but why?
You didn't need it at all, and it just made it weird.
How is Sierra making straight A's considering how much talking in class she did? Like, I don't understand.
Oh no, it's because her dad's famous.
Oh yeah, her dad is famous and smart, and only talks in poetry.
The dad, all he does is talk.
He's
an author.
He's an author.
Because you don't realize how
that's why it's a big deal that she doesn't write a poem. She writes a song, which is essentially a poem with rhythm.
Songs are poems, guys.
One girl gets to essentially write a rap and then have the class like add a beat to it for her.
They just made it spoken word poetry.
Genuinely irked me because it was spoken word, and I know spoken word has like a specific hard rhythm to it, and you might be going, wow, that's gotta be a rap. But no, of course, all the white kids wearing their beanies and their shoes are like, let's make
the white boys.
If you listen to what she was actually saying, it was all about like being misrepresented or seen as only like a small part of the whole picture, and like being mistreated by society in general. Like it was very topical, it was like pretty deep. You know that those boys that are rapping don't agree with anything she's saying.
They're like, wow, this sounds so great on my SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Something that really, really bothered me because I noticed it immediately after like the first and only bathroom scene. On the door, like they had this really huge sign for like the handicap sign. I was like, oh, that's dope, just so they know. And, like,
it's disabled.
Disabled, yeah, I wasn't sure. So they had a huge disabled sign on the top, and then it had like the little girls bathroom thing right underneath, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And then she walked down the stairs immediately outside of the door, and I was like, how is it?
How is that disabled? How is that an accessible bathroom?
There's no ramp.
Half of the things are trying to be performative. but they're not even hitting that mark.
They're failing at being performative.
Yeah. There's a reason that I didn't watch Insatiable, and I really wish that there had been some kind of warning for this.
Because literally all I knew about it was Shannon Purser. I was like, I would love to see her in more
Shannon
things.
Purser was like, let's watch this. I don't want to like make it sound like I'm blaming her. She did make it sound like it was going to be a good movie, and maybe she really did think that, or maybe that's part of the marketing in her contract. I don't know the specifics. I don't blame Shannon Purser for the faults of this movie. At the very least, like, her acting is good acting.
Yeah, she did her job.
Yeah, that's a technical thing. The writing is a piece of shit.
We hated it.
Yeah.
And it happened really quickly too. Like
it was so funny.
Oh, you mean the turn from like it could have been good?
Yeah.
We were so excited about this. Like, we were at BookNet Fest all day yesterday, and all day we were like, wow, I can't wait to get back to the room and we can all watch this movie together. And we all sat down and watched this movie, and we were like, yes. And she's getting out of the shower, and we're like, yes, we love this. And then like as soon as she gets to school and people start talking, we were like, oh no.
Like, the first thing out of Mean Girl's face is something transphobic, and we're like, I'm done. Like, if I was watching this at home, I would have just turned it off right then, but it was real fun to rip it to shreds with these people.
There's a hard, like, obvious, not even a dashed line, like a hard yellow line in the middle of the road between the lanes of having the experience and using it well. A hard line between being like, this is what I went through in high school, and then turning that into something that is productive and creative.
You should talk about the books that you should be reading and supporting instead of this film that are coming out soon.
Read literally anything by Julie Murphy, but especially Dumplin' and Puddin', because they both focus on fat protagonists. Puddin' especially also has a dual perspective, and the second perspective is a mixed race girl, and she has such a good redemption arc because she's not as bad as Veronica, but she does some shitty things at the beginning of the book, and by the end of the book you really believe in their friendship, and it's so good.
Yeah, it's way better.
Instead of watching this, and instead of watching Insatiable, just get ready for the Dumplin' movie. Don't know when it's coming out, but I am so excited for it. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody.
Of course.
Like I said at the beginning, like, I'm not sorry that I suggested watching it, because now we have this. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please click the bell below so you don't miss any of our future videos. If you're not already subscribed to The Princess and the Scrivener or Kathy, please do so down below as well, or somewhere around here for Kathy. Especially if you'd like to see more videos on Disney, intersectional feminism, pop culture critiques, and more. One of us will see you real soon.